You want to put passion and grit and sweat and love and tears into something because that is the real reflection of what it means to be human. That is a direct embodiment of the human experience. And so, what better way than to see those things reflected in the work that you created? Welcome to another episode of Imperfect But Worth It. I'm your host, Brenna. I'm excited to put myself out there and do another episode. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I think I'm going to be exploring this concept as I speak about it, and it's about creativity. So it kind of stemmed from today. I had a meeting with somebody. So I work for a conservation nonprofit, and I was meeting with a videographer / photographer, and his name is Adam Coombs. He's absolutely amazing at what he does. And so we were chatting about the collabed work project that we have going on. Basically, I just need him to help me make a video on why Pacific salmon are so important. And then he recommended a book to me called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. And apparently it's a very popular book because the two bookstores that I called right now on the island were both sold out of it. So that tells you something. I don't know where I've been living. Rick Rubin has also been interviewed on the Joe Rogan podcast. So he's on some things. But it kind of just it kind of just piqued my curiosity. And so I was on YouTube listening to some of his interviews. I don't want to spoil the book for myself before I read it. But I just wanted to, see some footage of him. And I felt like the message really, really spoke to me for where I am in my life. And I kind of wanted to share some of the insights that I wrote down and how I've digested it for myself, and maybe it'll help you or help inspire you to start that creative process in your life, whatever it looks like. So when I was listening to this podcast with Rick Rubin, or actually before that, I started listening to a different podcast called Know Thyself, and the host was interviewing Hitomi Mochizuki, who is a YouTuber, and she has always interested me in the sense that she creates these very honest videos of her trying to understand her relationship with herself more, her relationship with her sexual identity, with her sexuality, with her being and her triggers and her emotions. And also it's just kind of like a vlog style of wherever she is. And usually it's somewhere in nature, super beautiful. So if you have that fantasy in your head that you're going to be wearing a white dress and step into like a blue, crystal clear watered waterfall and just like swim while this dress is wet around you, then you might like her episodes. And in the episode that they were talking together, the host was saying when it's about creativity, specifically in relation to content, creatively making content, you just want to get good at something, put in the time, create something meaningful to you, and you'd be really surprised to see what happens. And I feel like even though that was super simple, that really spoke to me, because when I first started thinking about doing the podcast, I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to edit things anymore. Trying to do sound is a lot. Thinking about how to market a podcast, blah, 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 all of these things. And again, I don't want that to take away from the joy of creation, but it's a part of it, you know? It's not that the only marker of success will be if this is picked up and I can make a living off of it or monetize it or anything. No, like I am starting this for this genuine desire inside of me to share stories, to have conversations, and to talk about concepts and to link concepts together in a way that hasn't been done before, or in a way that's original and unique to me. So that has been my intention. And it's a good challenge to be doing something that scares you, that you don't have that much expertise in, because you're starting from baseline and you have nowhere to go but up. But the only difference, or the only thing that really matters, is your willingness to show up, put in the time, put in the work, and to just grow and learn. And genuinely, if you put effort into something, you take the time over a period of time to get better at it, you want to learn, you watch videos about it, you're in some way, shape, or form going to develop more skills about it and become better at it. You know, you don't have to be the world's most renowned expert and work for NASA for God knows what in relation to content creation. Well, actually, they probably have a pretty good media team, but anyways, that it's just about honing your craft. And if you're doing something that genuinely intrigues you, that ignites your passions, I feel like you're setting yourself up to be in a very good flow state for quite a long time and to have a purposeful life, which is, I feel like, what most of people want, especially for myself. And so the host was also saying that if you get masterful at something that you love, the money piece will just come. Don't fixate on the monetization of something. If it's something that you love, you want to get better at it, and you put in the time, the money piece will follow. And I'm going to trust that wisdom, knowing that I'm 28 years old. I don't know absolutely everything. I'm embarking in a new journey in my life, in a new activity, and trying to really tap into my own creativity while also healing my relationship with myself and all of my limiting beliefs to really step into my wholeness. The host was also talking about true joy comes from how present we are. And the host was mentioning how he was going to sleep, he looked at himself in the mirror, or like he saw his reflection in a mirror. And it was kind of this moment of, we always think that we're going to have joy after we've done this thing, or we get the reward for completing something, or when we attain a certain position, or we do a certain activity, then we're going to have joy. But also, something that I think is so important that is often overlooked, that I tend to overlook, is that joy is in the process. Or you can find joy in the process by taking a moment to be still, to recognize the presence around you and that you're here right now. The thing is that I don't have like probably any subscribers or any followers for this podcast. What's the correct word that you say? Followers? Supporters? I don't have any. And yet I'm still enjoying the process of making this podcast, of learning how to do it better and figuring out what types of conversations that I want to have. And I think that's pretty cool, that I don't have to be stuck in a lack place of, but the podcast is not this, or I'm not good enough in this way, so therefore it's meaningless. No, like, you're looking at my video, you're probably like, Bruna, what is this background? And honestly, yes, it will get better. Don't worry. But I think the point is that I still just want to have a video component to the podcast. And right now, it's cool. I feel motivated, I feel inspired, and I enjoy spending my time this way. So I think that's quite nice. And I kind of wrote this little thing. I said, be joyful for where you are. Don't hate yourself for arriving where you are now and for not knowing certain things earlier. Don't compare ages, so like between you and someone else. I'm pretty sure Hitomi, for example, is either my age or younger. And in my head, I'm like, frig, I frickin' wish that I started just making videos about my life, of exploring my creativity through, I don't want to say vlogging, because I don't know if it has this like kind of connotation, but I wish that I had documented my life, and I wish that I had believed in my creativity more and believed in my voice and my story more, that I could have just created for the sake of creating, but I didn't, because I was ashamed, I was embarrassed, I was insecure, I didn't want people to see, I didn't want people to judge me, I didn't believe in myself. And I think just too bad, even if nobody watched them, I would love to see what I would have created being who I used to be, and seeing that throughout the decade, because I can't really say decades because I'm only 28, so that's 2. But I think that that's where that comment came from. And so I know that in my head, I can kind of be really hard on myself of, Brenna, you know all this information, like, how sad that you are now 28 and that you're realizing this now. And I think a lot of people will get mad at me being like, or I think a lot of people might get offended by that comment saying, you're 28, you have so much time. But I think it's in reference to the person. Like, I'm not trying to make someone who's older than me also feel worse, because I think the general idea is still the same. It doesn't matter how old you are when you realize something. Hopefully it occurs when you have enough time to live your life, or still live into this new realization. But for some people that get sick and they have a limited amount of time, they don't get that opportunity. And yet I do hear stories of people that have found like immense peace in at least having that realization at a certain point in their life, and being like, you know what, I know this now, and my existence and the existence that I am lucky to have from this moment forward is now informed by these new realizations. And I think, to bring it back, I could easily start to think like, shit, I wasted my time, or why am I just learning these things now? So many missed opportunities. And it's like, Brenna, don't do that, because you're bringing yourself into the past. You are not allowing yourself to be in the present, to step forward and to be like, cool, you know what? I didn't have this knowledge before. I didn't have this inspiration before. I wasted so much time on hating my body, on being really unkind to myself, on being insecure. You know what though? That's a part of my story. And if I hadn't had those really difficult situations that I'm still grappling with now, if I didn't have those difficult moments, I wouldn't necessarily be where I am now, which is finding this information, learning about these things, and having the inspiration to do things differently. So I think that that is very cool. And a therapist that I had once told me, Brenna, there's no such thing as like regret or mistakes as long as you learn something. So if you're learning something, you're moving forward, and that's fucking great, and remember that. I also wrote that you are here now, you know these things now, get excited, get inspired, your journey is moving forward. You create from presence. It's never too late, and what you create now is a combination of everything you've learned. So kind of summing up what I just said. And Hitomi ended the conversation by saying that you are infinitely redeemable. And that was actually something that I liked hearing her say. It kind of lends itself to this self-compassion discussion of it's never too late. Never think that you are so messed up or that there's so much wrong with you that it's not possible for you to continue. You're infinitely redeemable. There is no inherent flaw in you. Yes, you're a human. You're going to show up imperfectly. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things not knowing better, and that's okay. You are always infinitely redeemable. You can always learn and apply that learning to be able to do things differently. And they also talked about when you're doing a creative endeavor, just start. And that sometimes means starting without a plan. Like for me, when I recorded the first episode, I did not have a plan. I just started chatting and talking about what was going through my mind and what triggered me. And you know what? In a way, I'm happy. The first episode is not perfect, but I started. I got that momentum. I ripped that band-aid off, and I didn't have a plan. Start imperfectly versus not starting at all. My partner always says, don't let pretty good or good be the enemy of perfection. Oh my God, no, I totally fucked that. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. That's way better. And I think that that's very true. So let the plan, let the steps reveal themselves to you as you start that entropy, start that momentum towards creating, towards doing something different, towards living in a new way, and see what happens. So now we're going to go into the conversation that Rick Rubin had with Joe Rogan and talking more about creativity. Rick was kind of talking about how creativity is not linear. It's a never-ending, winding road. There are no dead ends with creativity. Actually, that was in a creativity meditation that I listened to before I heard the podcast, but that's what it was talking about, and I liked that. Like, if you were creating and you are trying to do things differently or listen to yourself and honor that in whatever work you do, whether it's writing a book, writing poetry, just taking some time to write in your journal. I don't know, it could be anything, painting, that it's a never ending winding road. So even if you go down a road and you're like, I don't like this, or this isn't working out, it's never a finite bucket, There are always different avenues to go into. So there is no lack, there's no finiteness of creativity. That might have been janky, but you understand what I mean. And that actually makes me feel really excited because in a way, some people could say, well, I don't want to fail. But it's like, are you really failing, or are you just diverting yourself, and are you just going down another path, trying something new? I think that we need to have that mentality much more often of just totally becoming friends with failure. And failure I don't even know if the word is super helpful, because I think failure is still a success in the sense that you tried to do something. So we need to figure out a different word. But at this point, if something doesn't work out or you don't like it, you still learn from that situation. You figured out what worked, what did not work, or what you liked and what you didn't like, and that's still a win. And there is no other you in this lifetime, in this current space and time, and that is the gift for creativity in and of itself. Whatever you're thinking to create, that has your unique lens and your signature on it. Could be literally or figuratively. And so you need to honor that and own that. Another thing that Rick Rubin said that I really liked was that creativity is a way of looking at the world and wanting it to be the best that it can be. And I really like that because if you're if the things that feel very genuine for you are coming from a place of wanting to show up as your best self, that is automatically going to make the world the best that it can be. The world is not the best if you are silencing your voice, not believing in yourself, and thinking that your endeavors are not going to make an impact. And you just need to keep the work ethic there, keep the determination there, and you're going to learn along the way, grow and develop, pivot, but you're going to be somewhere that you probably would never imagine that you would end up. And the only, or such a big factor in that, I think, is your willingness to be resilient and to stay the course. Doesn't mean that you don't make different decisions, but that you are committed to showing up for that creative process, to showing up for yourself. So I think that commitment really has to be there. And I have to tell myself, like, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing in my life in 5 years, but if I just continue to follow the path of creativity and follow my heart about the things that I want to create, and also developing my voice, because developing my voice and developing my style, because holy Lord, trying to make a podcast cover for this thing made me feel like I have no graphic design skills. It looked like a grade 5 had a collage making activity with its school, cutting things out of a magazine and like stick drawing. It looked honestly super bad. It looked back in the day when computers just came out, making a picture on Windows Media Player, or like one of those old, like on Paint, you know? I think that was an app. I'll have to double check. I don't remember what it was called. But yeah, not good. If I just told myself, oh my God, Brenna, just give up, or you're so bad at this, then I would miss out on the opportunity to learn and get better, and it might take some time, and that's okay. Also, we live in the world with templates and stuff, so utilize some inspiration to find your own voice. That's totally fine. Rick was also saying, just do things for the love of them, and you need the work ethic over the talent. And that also really resonated with me. So again, talking about the work ethic, just have that commitment to showing up, to embarking on this creative journey, even though it's going to be imperfect, and learn along the way. And that is a much bigger predictor of success than talent. And you see that in sports too. You could have the most talented swimmer in the world that is super fast, but if they don't want it that badly, then they're not going to show up and do the things that actually will help them be successful. Obviously, there are a few wild stories of athletes that genuinely have so much talent that they can do whatever the hell they want, but think about where they would be if they really put the balls to the wall and fucked it up. So keep that in mind. I also liked that they were talking about, that you work for the best of the group or the team. I think that that's really great because it reminds you to check your ego. It's not about your idea needing to come to fruition, because if it doesn't, it means that you're worthless or that you're stupid. No, it's like when you're creating, you want the best possible outcome. You want to create the best possible thing. And sometimes that means contributing to the idea, but it doesn't necessarily have to be your idea, although your input is still valuable because it's coming from a different perspective than the other people in the room. And I think when I talked in other podcast episodes about being really threatened by my partner's new endeavor into creating YouTube videos, is I was forgetting that actually, that the best thing for our relationship is for both of us, each party, to be doing work that feels purposeful and fulfilling to them. And I want him to have a career, whatever that looks like. And the only way for him to find the one that is true to him and a manifestation of his passions is for him to try things and to honestly become really good at them, like to master the craft. Otherwise, how will you know what it could be? So the best thing for our relationship is him pursuing those endeavors and creating the best product possible. I think that that's really helpful for me to remember, because that helps me give up these reins of control or lack or insecurity, because what's best for us is when each of us are doing what's best for ourselves. And I know that our relationship is going to be so much better when we honor ourselves and choose to partake in activities that interest us, that we are passionate about, and that push us out of our comfort zones. So, need to remember that. Another thing that I super loved was that Rick was saying, let the universe conspire on your behalf. It's through the doing that things happen. Allow your doing to be the vessel that the universe manifests and materializes what it wants to happen. And I think that that is probably the most powerful message of creating that momentum. Create that ripple effect, because you have no idea where you're going to be, what's going to happen as a result of doing that. And just start imperfectly, have no idea where you're going. Start writing something that you're like, oh my God, someone that was 9 years old could have written something better. Doesn't matter. This is where you're starting from. Keep doing it. It's going to be refined. You're going to continue to have creative ideas, because again, creativity, it's an infinite pool. You can go any direction. One dead end doesn't mean that the whole entire situation is a dead end. And you'll only know if you start that process and you try to find out for yourself. I think that that's a good place to end the podcast. And I just wanted to share that. If you are grappling with creativity in your life, how to have more of it, how to engage in it for maybe the first time in a long time, how to tap back into it if it's something you felt you lost, because that's definitely where I'm at, but it's not me wanting to create inauthentically. I think it's very serendipitous, this journey that I'm on, trying to really navigate and challenge and heal all of these limiting beliefs, and also to figure out what direction in my life feels the most purposeful, feels the most honest and genuine moving forward. So I'm in a very unique time of creating, not literally just podcasts and these things, but creating my life and breaking negative patterns, negative automatic processes in my brain. I'm trying to break those things. And I also know that in the process, I'm going to become closer and closer to what feels like the most true and authentic form of myself. Yeah, I'm just really excited to try and bring more creativity in my life and to just start doing. I have no idea where I'm going to be. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but I actually think that I'm just going to trust that wisdom and do things for the sake of doing them, not worry what other people think about it, create for the sake of honoring myself and doing what feels right. And I'm happy that I recorded this episode, because I think it'll be really cool to see or hear this and to see where I go from here or where I end up. And I like that. I think oftentimes we hear about people that have already started these creative ventures and they're at this place that maybe a lot of people would deem successful. And obviously there is some truth that, whatever you conspire to do that feels genuine and authentic for you, you want it to be successful. Not just in the sense that other people get it and support it, but that it's viable for you to continue to do it. I think that's what success means for me. Viable to continue to do it, and receiving that feedback from the universe that this is something that's valued and needed in life. So I do think that that is success, but you have these people that are kind of already in these positions where they've done the thing and they're like, yes, and this is all that I've learned, and these are some really great ideologies, or these are some really great tools and beliefs to have. But it's almost like, I wish that I knew how hard it was for you starting out, or when you weren't in this position of prestige or esteem or success, whatever you want to call it, And I think that it's cool to be able to share now. Like, I was just crying my eyes out before starting this podcast. I was in my demons. I was super insecure. I felt lazy. I didn't want to start. I started watching a video about how to make a podcast and I just wanted to stop right away. And still, I was looking at Canva today trying to figure out how to make a podcast thumbnail, and I genuinely thought, like, holy fuck, I don't even know what looks good. I don't even know the creative graphic design part of, I'm going to use this picture, I'm going to use this font, I want it to be like colorful and have these images. It just felt super overwhelming. So I really mean that I am just starting, but I'm at least happy that I'm here. I'm learning along the way. And it's fun to not have everything figured out. If you had everything figured out and it was like smooth sailings, there would be no challenge. And everything would just be like McDonald's, you know? You don't want to eat fast food. You want to put passion and grit and sweat and love and tears into something because that is the real reflection of what it means to be human. That is a direct embodiment of the human experience. And so, what better way than to see those things reflected in the work that you created? And it's not just this, I did it, I posted it, or I've shared it, and now I get to relax and feel this joy. No, like there is joy and flow in the process of creation. So take a breath. Even in you listening to this podcast right now, where you are, this is an amazing place to be. There is so much potential, but also there is so much presence here because it is the present. So don't forget that. Thank you for listening to this episode. I'm so excited for the next ones. Have no idea what I'm going to talk about, but I'm just really happy that you're along for this ride with me, and bye.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and the bell notification icon.